So when I first started college, my understanding of democracy in the US was essentially just Democrats, aka the blue team, and Republicans, aka the red team, and everyone votes for their side, and whoever gets the most votes wins. At the same time, my grandparents were very Catholic and would take me to church whenever I would visit them, and I didn't understand religion. I mean, it's such an ever-evolving concept that seemed imperfect, and I couldn't understand such a strong devotion, especially with modern day conversations about sexual orientation and abortion and education that were pushing back against traditional values. Throughout my social sciences curriculum, I was introduced to early democracies. So these different early democracies helped influence what we know today. And similarly to religion, I now see democracy as this ever evolving system that will always be imperfect. But democracy and religion as concepts themselves are already a lot similar upon closer inspection. In my rhetoric class, we talked about *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, which essentially asked what allows humans to cooperate on such a large scale to create these complex civilizations that are rich with culture and technology, right? I think that the answer to this is the collective belief in myths. Myths being, for example, like laws and morals and social structures, which aren't by any natural systems real things, but our collective belief that they are real and that they have value is what allows us to cooperate on such a high level. An example of this is capitalism. In a capitalist driven economy, there are the rich and the poor. The rich have access to a super luxurious lifestyle, and they're seen as superior to the poor who live in this very hostile world. Under capitalism, they're completely divided because they have mutually believe that money has value, but the difference being how much they have. So this overlap in religion and man-made systems can also be seen in democracy. One of the earliest political systems of democracy originated in Athens, Greece, and it was developed most notably by this guy, Cleisthenes, who introduced the idea of democratia. To quote David Savage's The Decline and Rise of Democracy, Cleisthenes reorganized Athens into 139 demes, which were units of 150 to 250 individuals. In addition to belonging to a deme, citizens were associated with one of 10 new artificially created tribes that now each sent 50 individuals selected by lot to a council of 500 that would administer the day-to-day affairs of the city. End quote. This was an early version of representation in democracy we see today in real life, for example, in parliament. However, it differs in the sense that there was random selection and there was a smaller constituent size, which for us, we have representatives that are voted for and usually a larger population of constituents. In Europe, representative democracy was also developed further with mandates. So essentially, the way that constituents kept their representatives in check and make sure that they weren't corrupted or coerced was giving them strict instructions regarding what they could or could not do. This method of binding representatives doesn't exist anymore in modern day democracy, and constituents can only choose to vote or not vote for a candidate. What this shows us is that democracy is not a timeless system, and it can appear in different forms and evolve into more modernized adaptations. As democracy changed throughout history, so did religion. For example, in class, we talked about Christianity, which was founded off the ideologies of Jesus of Nazareth. So earliest forms of Christianity depicted only God as this divine deity. However, later on, some believed that Jesus, who was the son of the Father or God, was also a divine God. So Emperor Constantine summoned the Council of Nicaea to confirm that Jesus was truly a god. While the Council of Nicaea was a church-led reformation, the challenging of Christianity or heresy was what created the strongest impact in developing the religion. So in class, we also learned about Giordano Bruno, who was this Italian philosopher who claimed that the Earth was not the center of the universe. We know this to be true, but this was a radical idea at the time, which challenged the teachings of the church, who taught the geocentric model of the universe, which had Earth in the center. Bruno was burned at the stake for his ideas. Despite this, his beliefs were proven correct by Copernicus and Galileo. So the evolution of religion mirrors the development of democracy. And today, the authority of religion in the US is very controversial, as progressive things like abortion and sexual preference and gender orientation are challenging those traditional values. The history of religion also gives us an insight into the future of democracy. And in its current state, the two political parties have never been more divided. And there's an atmosphere of ignorance that creates a hostile environment for the exchange of differing opinions. One might even feel like Giordano Bruno at times in this current political climate. Since arriving in Boston in university in January, my opinion on democracy has changed. And like religion, I now see that change is also necessary in democracy. I think that the two-party political system is too polarizing and that the tenures of judges in the Supreme Court should not be for life. And I think that the ignorance of voters should be educationally addressed. Democracy will always have room to grow and change into a more modernized adaptation of what it should be.